Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Thursday. First time I said that in a while. May the 10th, 2018. Good to have you all here for our first and only show this week. As always, before we get going, let me remind you all the ways in which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight401@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight401. Remember, hashtag itspotlight401 is what you want to tweet is what you want to use when tweeting at our show or tweeting anything regarding our show. Make sure that you use that so that you can see everything and, and of course, get wherever you tweet us and all that good stuff. Again, on Facebook, you can search for us using the title In the Spotlight 411, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you find it so that you can interact with us and all that fun stuff. All right, so this is our first and only show of the week. I want to apologize for the postponement on Tuesday. It wouldn't have worked. There was a lot going on, and this was for the best that we postponed the show until tonight. So that's why we did it. So that's why we're on the air tonight. It's been a while since we had a Thursday show. It feels weird a little bit, but eventually we will go back to Tuesdays and Thursdays and such. So no worries there. But for right now, tonight anyway, back on the air here on a Thursday night. We don't have a lot to do tonight. We got like a mixed bag. Of course, we'll do our usual box office beat in the Spotlight TV picks of the week. We'll cover some headlines out of WWE, and of course, all the big sports stuff from NBA playoffs, MLB. You're going to notice tonight, we're going to do things. We'll do some general stuff like we always do, talk playoffs in general, talk, WWE in general and stuff like that. But in between, we'll kind of sandwich in some specific stories related to all those topics. So that's just not like us just going off about random things for 15 minutes. We got some focused content as well. So a lot to do today, a lot to talk about. Let me tell you all about next week, though, first, of course, here as we muddle through May. And again, from now until through the summer, we'll be doing only one show a week. So please keep that in mind. For those that have been asking me about the schedule is going to continue to be what it is, one show a week. Most of the time we'll be on Tuesdays. Obviously, things could change. If it does, I'll try to let you know ahead of time. If it doesn't, then obviously I'll let you know by social media means as well if I have to. So you all have a little bit of notice if something's gonna be changed, But obviously, sometimes things happen last minute, like it happened on Tuesday. So you always want to make sure you follow us on social media so that you know in advance if we're not going to have a show and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, next week, one show on Tuesday of next week. So please keep that in mind. So Tuesday of next week, we will have a show. And it'll be the usual stuff. I don't think we're doing anything special on Tuesday. So don't, so it won't be anything, unusual stuff, but it won't be anything special going on. It'll just be the usual show here. And with one show, it's kind of hard to do too much special. I mean, we've been doing things, but it's hard when you only have one show. It ends up being a longer show because you want to get more stuff in, and it just ends up being, difficult. So, but yeah, one show next week on Tuesday. And again, this will be the schedule we do throughout the summer. Most of the time, the shows be on Tuesday unless otherwise noted. So, come September, we'll probably go back to our normal, our normal schedule and at least two times a week, and then we'll go from there. So that's what's coming up as far as next week goes. Nothing really, again, earth shattering. Pretty much the usual show on Tuesday. Nothing special coming up. Again, this is the schedule. I told you about the schedule for the summer, so nobody has to ask about that. People were asking me throughout the entire spring or late winter, hey, what's going on with the schedule? You guys will keep doing one show. We've been doing one show a week pretty much since February, since my wife had the baby. And it just, things are getting easier, but I think, by the time we get to the end of summer, things will be fine, with the routine and everything. And I think by that point, we'll be ready to go and get back to, get back in the swing of things fully and then do the things that we want. I mean, this year we kind of was a lost year. We didn't really get the chance to do as much as we would have liked, but that stuff happens. What are you going to do? So, all right. So enough rambling by me. We got a lot to do. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with like we've been doing. I like to start with the entertainment stuff because the stuff that we know what we got to do. We get it done, and that's, oh, one more thing. People have been asking me about when we're going to bring back the In the Spotlight Film Spotlight of the Week. We will be bringing that back. We might bring it back next week. I'm not really sure yet, but we will be bringing it back, so no worries about that. But yeah, tonight, TV Picks of the Week, Box Office Beat, which we'll start off with the Box Office Beat. And then we'll move out of that. We'll move into a little bit of wrestling. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll do sports to end the night because I figure that's going to be where we do a lot of talking. So we'll do NBA playoffs, MLB, a couple other little things. And then that'll be the show. So a mixed bag here on the program tonight. So without further ado, let's get going here as we start off the night here. And again, with the box office beating, the box office story was the same last week as it was the week before. You know, Infinity War dominated the box office. Now, and you know, there a lot of people wondered just how much it was going to dominate by. Obviously, it was going to be by a substantial margin, but how high was it going to go? It ended up being 114.7, which fell right in line with estimates. Many people thought it could push past 120. Here's the thing, and this is something that I want to really kind of dwell on a little bit here in this when we talk about this, because this, again, there's nothing much else to talk about with the box office right now. Here's the thing, you know, if you go back as far as Avengers: Age of Ultron, okay, the first weekend of May, while you always see a big box office smash, all right, and really, I shouldn't just focus on the first weekend of May, because really the last couple of summers have underperformed by some people. I have a lot of underperformance. Now, we talked about that. Is it underperformance, or is it people getting their expectations too high? You know, you can make the argument either way. But here's the thing about the first weekend of May, since I want to focus on that here for a second, okay? Other than any of the other big weekends in summer, which over the last couple of years have had underperformance, but I don't want to focus on those right now. I want to focus on this one weekend. The first weekend of May, okay, is a bigger weekend than people think. All right, you got the Kentucky Derby, which, believe it or not, does impact things. You got the NBA playoffs in full swing, which again does impact things. Now, here's the other thing: some years you get the NBA draft, NFL draft, the first weekend of May. Here's another thing: oftentimes, the first weekend of May is when you start to get into some really nice weather. Not just, you know, like a tease, like some really nice weather. And if you live on the East Coast, you got some beautiful weather, especially in the Northeast this past weekend. You got some beautiful weather. And that impacts things, you know, especially if you've had a long, torturous winter like many of us have had. So that does impact things. So when you take all that into account, you might not end up with the best box office weekend. You might end up underperforming. Now, you take so take that into account here when you look at the first weekend of May. Go back as far as Avengers: Age of Ultron in 2015. That movie was supposed to do the same business, was supposed to beat Avengers' record. It did not do it. Many people want to know why. A lot of people thought, you know, that if you remember that weekend, the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight, it had the Kentucky Derby, NFL draft, NBA playoffs. There was a lot of stuff going on. And look, Marvel movies skew heavily male. There's a lot of females that watch them too, but they skew heavily male. They do. So, and there's a lot of stuff going on that men would have liked to have checked out. Then you have families who might not have gone out and saw because they might have been doing other things because it was beautiful weather. So, you know, you got to take these things into account. So why am I bringing up Age of Ultron? Because I think that applies here to the second weekend of Infinity War. If you're one that thought it should have made over 120 million, certainly you can think about this argument that maybe the first weekend of May just has too much going on and kind of hurts the box office in some ways. Especially a movie that might skew more in terms of towards families and men. So you can take that into account. That's why I'm bringing it up. Now, here's the other thing, okay? And this is something that people are banning about too, you know, talking about too. Could the fact that it didn't do as well as some people thought be about the way that the film ended, which some families were excited about because they didn't like the fact that they didn't like what happened. They thought it was too much for their kids. Or could it be the fact, could the runtime, because it's a longer movie. Now, again, run times have never hurt movies before. I mean, some of the top movies in box office history have been longer movies. It hasn't hurt every movie, but it's been known to hurt some movies. You know, it's not out of the realm. So it can hurt. I just don't think it hurts that much, but it can hurt a little bit, I suppose. But I mean, you can discuss that. It's a talking point. Now here's the other part, okay, of this. You know, maybe again you could go into the whole piracy thing and all that. So you could do that. You could do that the week before its opening weekend. You know, people again, so much of how well a movie does oftentimes after its first weekend is repeated viewings. Maybe people didn't go back right away to see it again. Also, if anybody has not seen it, they might be staying away, knowing how big the crowds are, staying away till later in the month. That's a part of it too. So, when you look at this, I think you look at this and say Disney and Marvel are really, 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 really smart to move the movie up a week. And they might do it again next year too, because you stay out of that first weekend of May, which again has seen some underperformance. Now, the other thing too, and this is something that I've always said too, to me, okay, you had that big record-breaking opening weekend, all right, which is huge, obviously. And then you have the second weekend, which you underperform maybe a little bit by some people saying, not by everybody's. You're still in that range that people thought you could be in, but you underperform by some people's standards. All right, so let's say, okay, you had that big opening weekend and you underperform a little bit, but then the third weekend you overperform or you hold up better than expected. Then you pretty much offset that second weekend drop. So, I mean, I really don't think you should take it week by week. Once you get that big opening weekend, wait and see where the chips fall. Go week to week and just see where they fall. Because some weeks you might go down a little bit more than you wanted to, and then some weeks you might not move at all, or do better than you expected, and it kind of evens out. I mean, but look, $114.7 million, nothing to stub your nose at. It's a tremendous total. And the thing that's really amazing about this movie, now right now it stands at 479.1 million domestic, 771.9 foreign. It's really, and again, it's not like it's not making anything domestically. It is, but and I don't want to make it about the fact that international is saving its butt, because it's not. But you look at the international total; it's doing tremendous internationally, tremendous, much better than anybody could have thought. And here's the thing: once it opens in China, it's expected to break records in China. This movie, by the end of this weekend, many people think is going to be at $1.5, $1.6 billion. It's already at 1.2 now. Now, you remember a couple weeks ago I said, what's the chance of it hitting 2 billion or potentially challenging Avatar? I don't know if it can challenge Avatar because it is slowing down a little bit, and you got competition coming out finally next week in the form of Deadpool and then Solo and so on and so forth. But I told you all right then and there, like 2 weeks ago, the closer it gets to 2 billion before Deadpool, the better the chance it has. Because they're going to keep it in theaters for the most part till probably around the 4th of July, and it will get a boost for Memorial Day. And here's the other thing. If it gets close enough to that record, they might re-release it later in the summer just to try to get some more money, to kind of eke it out a little bit more. So we'll see. Right now at 1.2 billion, we haven't even entered the third weekend yet, and that's not even including tonight's totals. So let's say that they're at 1.5, 1.6 billion, like they expect to be by Monday morning. You got all next week, okay? And then you got next week, even though there's competition, it's still going to do well. And if it continues to do what it's doing in some of these territories, it could, I mean, it still has a chance just because of international alone. I mean, here's the thing: if it can be at or around $2 billion going into Memorial Day weekend, like close to 2 billion, it's got a good shot. Depending on how its Memorial Day boost is, it's got a good shot. So we'll see where it stands. I mean, right now I think it stands a very good chance of hitting 2 billion, but whether it challenges Avatar or not, that's going to depend on what it, again, just really if it continues to hold up overseas. It ain't going to do it because of the U.S. number. It's going to have enough. A lot of people were hoping it would break the Force Awakens' number, U.S. I don't think it's going to do that. It's slowing down too much here. But overseas, it could be the thing that kind of dictates how far it goes here. But hey, it's a tremendous hit. We know that. There's not much you can talk about besides that. Anybody thinking that there was superhero fatigue or, excuse me, or that the MCU was on a downward spiral, it's like, I can't imagine why you would think that given what Black Panther did, given what Thor did. But anybody thinking this is going away, it's not. It's not. Everything Marvel tends to touch turns to gold. So it is what it is. And Disney continues to rake money. And hey, You can't beat it. Can't beat them. They're just tremendous. They really are. What they built, what Disney has built with their movie studio, and not an individual Marvel has done is amazing. So as I said, Avengers Infinity War comes in first in its second week of $114.7 million, a 55% drop off. We had three new releases last week that I see that are on the docket. You had Overboard, which came in second. That one's starring Anna Faris, 14.7 million, which isn't too bad. Better than I thought it would do, actually. So that's not too bad. Obviously, a big drop from 1 to 2 there, but we all knew that was going to happen. The other new releases I'll talk about in a minute once I get to them. And second, dropping from third, I should say, dropping from second, A Quiet Place, 7.7 million, only a 29.5% drop off, continuing to hold up very well. That film continues to do very good. Dropping from third to fourth was I Feel Pretty, with a little over $5 million, 38% drop off, which isn't bad as third week. And everything else finished under $5 million, including Tully, a new release from last week, opened in sixth with $3.2 million. Bad Samaritan, which opened in 11th place with $1.7 million. So, the new release is not making much of a dent, other than Overboard, which I think did much better than expected, at least in my mind. So, but yeah, again, we knew that was going to happen. Nothing was going to challenge Avengers. So you go into May with only 4 movies over $5 million, which again, given one of them is making over $100 million, you know, it kind of evens out. Like, one movie is basically carrying the box office right now, kind of like Black Panther did February and March. Speaking of Black Panther, if you're wondering what happened with that, because that movie made a surprise jump back into the top 5 last weekend, thanks to Avengers Infinity War and the double features and all that stuff. Black Panther dropped from 5th to 7th with 3.2 million, a 31% drop off, which again for its 12th week is tremendous. It's over $1 billion. Both Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War crossed the $1 billion mark in the same weekend, which is just amazing. So both movies, this tremendous business this year for Marvel and for Disney. So that's the story for the box office last weekend. Now we flip the script to this weekend. And now Avengers is going to three-peat. We know that. It's going to be number 1. But you do have two movies this weekend that, in terms of new releases, will probably make more of an impact. They won't challenge Avengers, but they'll make some money. The biggest new release is Life of the Party, a comedy from Warner Bros. New Line, opening in 3,656 theaters. PG-13, starring Melissa McCarthy. It's Melissa McCarthy. It's a comedy. It will do well with women. It will have its audience. How much of an audience? Well, we'll see. Maybe this movie can piggyback on Avengers a little bit. I don't know, but it is PG-13. It's a high concept kind of movie. It's following this current trend of adults going back to school, going back to college. So, it might strike a chord. I can see it maybe making about 14, 15 million. I can't see much more than that, but, maybe a little bit more. I guess it potentially could break 20, but I highly doubt it. And then you have Breaking In, a thriller from Universal, opening in 2,537 theaters, starring Gabrielle Union and Billy Burke. PG-13. Don't expect much from it. If it breaks 8, 9 million, it'll be a shock. Like, I can't see it making more than that. So when you look at this weekend, Avengers should be number 1. I think most are saying around anywhere from 50 to 70 million. I'm going to go with 60 million. I think it'll fall right in the middle there. I'll go with Life of the Party in second with around maybe I'll go a little bit more higher than I just said. I'll go 16, 17 million for that movie. Let's see. I think Overboard's going to crash. It does have a high theater count. Let's go with Breaking In. I'll say Breaking In around 8 million. I'll give it a little bit more than maybe I should. I'll say 8 million for Breaking In. I'll go Overboard maybe around 7. I won't go. It's going to drop below 5 million because it only got 1,600 theaters. So I'll go for Quiet Place around 6 million, 5.5, 6 million. And then everything else I think will be under 5 million. So I think this weekend will only feature 1, 2, 3, probably 3 movies over 5 million. That's it. So one less than last week. That's this again. Avengers is dictating all the business. So next weekend should make things far more interesting as you have 3 new releases, one of which is expected to pull in over $100 million and will finally unseat Avengers. And that is Deadpool 2. That will be released next week. along with a comedy called Book Club and a comedy called Show Dog. So those will be the movies that we have to talk about next week. And again, we'll do that next week here when we look at what's going on and all that stuff. Look back at this coming weekend and look ahead to next week. And things will start to get more interesting next week with competition coming out to challenge Avengers finally. I see Mike has appeared on the screen. Mike, you're in the spotlight.
I just finished eating.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Okay. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to...
We're going to talk about TV stuff in a minute.
Well, I'm guessing you don't have any... I'm guessing you don't have any box office contributions.
Spoilers, Avengers is going to win again. There's a shocker. Really? But...
By the way, your connection's breaking up a ton. You're in and out.
I muted myself because I blew my nose.
Oh. Fair enough. Fair enough. Anyway, Mike is right. We will be talking about TV. So that's the end for the movie stuff. We'll talk more about, we'll look back at this coming weekend, look at the next week when we have our next show, next Tuesday. So we'll go do some TV highlights. Now, I'll go first just so that Mike has a chance to kind of collect himself. All right, so I don't have a lot. And I haven't had a lot for a couple months because it's been very hard between not having Fox and watching all these sporting events and having a baby and working like I've been and everything. It's been kind of hard to get things in. But obviously there's some shows, all know I fanboy out and get in, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Walking Dead when it's around, all that stuff. I have been able to catch up on a few shows. I did binge watch a little bit of Lethal Weapon because I was thinking that maybe the show might not last. But if you've been following the news, you know that they fired one of the leads, and that to me that would indicate that they're probably going to get renewed. Because why bother doing that unless you didn't, unless you didn't think you're going to be renewed. But anyway, I've caught up on that, and I've been really enjoying that. Let's see what else. I'd recommend that, and I'd get into it now because who knows what's going to happen with that. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was phenomenal last week. If you want an Infinity War tie-in, well, you got one. So, I'm not going to spoil it, but and it's not over yet. So if you're interested in that, keep watching because they're building up to something there. So you have that. Let's see what else I did. I'm sure Mike will probably bring this up, but I'll bring it up too. Camp WWE we watched this week. That was pretty good for you wrestling fans. That was actually really, really good. I missed that show. That's a good show. A lot of fun. There's something else I wanted to mention, but I can't remember what. There's something else I wanted to mention, but I can't remember what. I'm hoping I can think of it quickly. Let's see, what else did I watch? Oh, I've even asked me about American Idol, and I honest to God, I haven't. Since about the second week of the season, I haven't been watching. I have it all on DVR. I just haven't watched it yet, so I'll probably binge watch it the entire summer just to let you all know what I think of it. Because I know people have been asking me about it. And I just haven't watched it. What else? I watched Fear the Walking Dead. I wouldn't recommend it, though. I can already see it going off the rails. I have no idea where they're going with this stuff. It's a shame because I thought last season was really good. But I think they're trying too hard now. So I can't recommend that. But that's something else I watched this week. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. I know that's crappy. I only recommend a few shows. I didn't really talk much about them. But again, TV is a struggle for me right now. I haven't gotten to everything I wanted to get to. So I'll throw to Mike. Mike always has stuff to talk about. So, Mike, go ahead. You got any TV picks this week?
I don't have many shows to talk about this week. I've been really, really busy last little bit, so I haven't really had a ton of time to sit down and actually watch shows. I can say though, I caught up with Deception from ABC, and I'm really digging the show. I think, as far as police procedurals kind of go, this one's really special.
Mm-hmm.
This one's really special. It's not really a procedural. It's the magician and his magic team working with the FBI to try to get his brother out of prison, solve cases along the way. I think that's fun as hell, and it's a great show. Everything it's a fun show. Everybody does a great job. Yes, there are some dark moments, but it's great. Deceptions is one of those shows that I really, really love watching. Yeah, and I'm all caught up on it. It's a great show. Don't really have too much to say. I'm not going to spoil because there's this whole 2-episode arc where Cameron kidnapped. Something sounds like it broke in your house. Yeah, where Cameron Black gets kidnapped and his twin brother is taken out of prison to help find an episode from Cameron's point of view. Another episode where Cameron has to try to rebuild that trust that he had with his team in the FBI. It was good stuff. So I'm looking forward to where this show is going to go. Because we've got a couple twists and turns, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I do highly recommend Deception. Watching a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And again, that show is extraordinarily funny. I've got a couple episodes left. I know people in my house watch the whole thing, but I've got a couple episodes left, and I thought it was super funny. I'm on the current season, even though I've missed a ton of shows along the way. Which is why I'm like, fuck Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Because today, Brooklyn Nine-Nine was officially canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Officially canceled by Fox, and there was a chance that it could happen. But nobody is happy with that decision. Nobody is happy with that decision. So I do believe Fox done fucked up, because it was a solid show on their Sunday lineup where at least count on it to get a little bit of a rating. They moved it around a bit, and it's done well, whatever. It's a consistently funny, which is something that, it's hard to say. It's hard to say about a lot of the other shows on their network. Besides, I'm not happy with Fox to begin with. Fuck Fox. Fuck Fox in general. So, I digress. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, something you can watch. Since the news kind of came out, there's been a significant groundswell to get it on Hulu or Netflix.
Might happen.
It might happen, especially Brooklyn Nine-Nine is something you could find on Hulu currently. It would be a Hulu exclusive kind of show. But I digress. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, great show. Deception, it's a fun watch so far. I highly recommend that. And that's all I have right now. That's all I have right now.
Look. I'm somebody that you remember a couple years ago. I was singing the praises of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I said it's a good show. And unfortunately for that show, and look, I think it's going to get picked up somewhere. I really do. But unfortunately for that show, it was pretty much done with Fox last year, and they gave it another year. I think Fox is pretty much ready to just clean house, and I can already sense what they're going to do. You whenever a network does something, okay, like if it's a network that's behind in the ratings, right? Especially somebody like Fox, who in the past has always kind of done this kind of stuff where they go crazy at one thing, and then but what happened with Roseanne and what NBC's done with Will and Grace, and you know what's happened with Netflix with Fuller House and all this stuff. You already heard that they're trying to bring back Last Man Standing, right? So
no, I did not.
Yeah, of course Fox owns the show anyway. That's one of the reasons why ABC got rid of it, because they didn't own the show. Fox owns the show. But anyway, they want to bring back Last Man Standing. Well, there's also talk about bringing back Married with Children. There's all these they're going to go reboot heavy for sitcoms. That's what they're going to do. You know, they always do too much of one thing. You know how they are. So they're going to go because they have
see monkey do.
Yeah, but not realizing that the other networks have. It's not like the other networks have gone crazy about this. They've each had maybe like one or two where they've strategically put them in their lineups. It's not like they've made a whole lineup out of reboots. So, but that's not going to be what they do. So, yeah. But anyway, and speaking of renewals and stuff, over the next couple days, and you know what? I lied. We are going to do something special because we're going to have upfronts next week. So we'll be able to talk about some cancellations, renewals, all that fun stuff. That's always a fun week. So if you like shows that are tanking in the ratings, good luck. So next week will be interesting in a number of ways for that. But yeah, next week you'll find out some stuff about some of the shows that have been on the block. I'm going to say this, and I'll probably talk a lot about this next week because I've heard a lot about people asking about like why are they doing it the way? The last couple of years, the networks wait to the last minute on a lot of shows to renew them. And it used to be where you'd pretty much know by midway through the season if a show was going to end. And that would give these shows about a half a season to kind of close things off. That doesn't happen anymore. You know, there's going to be some shows next week that get canceled and didn't get the chance to really end the way they probably would have ended if they had a chance to, plan it. And you hear a lot of shows, we kind of thought this could happen. We did some things with the finale that, it acts as a season finale, but it also acts as a series finale. Let's be honest, when they do that, it's essentially an add-on. It's like, we threw in one or two scenes where it's like, a couple characters having a close moment and everything. That's all they really do. But yeah, we'll see next week. I mean, there's going to be some shows that get canceled and didn't have a good goodbye, really. So it sucks. What are you going to do? That's the way the networks do things now. They're indecisive. Too many shows now. They're all lumped together. They all have similar numbers, and with everything the way it is now in entertainment, it just makes it harder to make these decisions. And I think that's why it happens the way it does. But anyway, all right. So not a lot of TV stuff this week, but hey, it's we're getting towards the end of the season now. So I think we're going to have to start binge watching, get some finales in and stuff so that, we don't go the whole summer and not have any. Summertime, we don't have a lot of TV hired. So maybe next couple of weeks, I'll try to make a point to catch up on some things that way we give some people some good stuff before the summer doldrums happen. All right, so let's see here. Wrestling. Not a lot there. Unless you want to talk about little things like, I don't call them little things, like Brock Lesnar not wrestling at Money in the Bank. Like we all thought he would. If you didn't figure that out by the fact that Roman Reigns is feuding with Jinder Mahal, I don't know what else would have given you the idea, but that's what's happening. This has been a week of surprises, though. We did have, and I'm sure Michael will agree with me, a big surprise on SmackDown with Rusev beating Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, they're kind of selling that Daniel Bryan was still kind of roughed up from the big Cass match.
Yeah, well,
and Rusev was just too much. Yeah, so it kind of gives Rusev something to do.
It's smart booking. It really is.
Well, if Daniel Bryan's in the Money in the Bank match, what's everybody gonna want?
Well, I would just say this too for anybody that's thinking that they're screwing Daniel Bryan again. They're not screwing Daniel Bryan again. First of all, Daniel Bryan doesn't need the Money in the Bank match to get a title match. And secondly, do you really want to put Daniel Bryan in a ladder match 2 months after he came back? Just think about that for a second. So I was saying this the other day. I like the idea of making it people that either haven't had an opportunity in a long time or people that have never had the opportunity. So a guy like Rusev, The Miz. Who else is in it so far? I'm trying to think of who else. Braun Strowman. Who else? Oh, Finn Balor. Yeah. Braun Strowman, Finn Balor. Those are all guys that haven't had, Braun Strowman's had opportunities, but you know what I mean? He hasn't won it. So at least not right now, you got a field so far of people that you are deserving, and it makes things fun. Also, I should add that they've decided they're only going to do two. Well, they're going to do 3 Money in the Bank matches, but they're not going to do two. What you think? They're going to do a Raw, not Raw. They're going to do a men's match and a women's match. But I'm hearing, I guess they might do a tag team championship Money in the Bank match. That's going around. I don't know if that's confirmed yet or not, but that's the talk. There's going to be a third Money in the Bank match, and it might be for the tag team titles.
There's going to be Raw, SmackDown, and Women's.
Nope. So there's going to do 2 matches. They're going to do a women's match and a men's match. And then I guess they were supposed to announce the tag team Money in the Bank match Monday on Raw. But they decided not to, figuring they have 6 weeks of build. So why announce everything in one night?
They did have the extension. The extension was talking about winning Money in the Bank.
So. Right. So there you go. So the Ascension talked about. So I guess it's going to happen. So you're going to have a tag team championship Money in the Bank match.
But they didn't mention a tag team. So it was confusing.
Well, maybe that's what they were alluding to. They didn't, like you said, they didn't say it. Okay, so they didn't say what Money in the Bank match, but still, the arena's advertising a third match. So if they're only doing a men's match that's not for either, it's specifically interbrand, and a women's match that's interbrand, then that must mean that third match has to be for something else. So it is kind of cool to do tag team titles though like that. That is fun. It's different. Can't complain, no originality, I guess. But one of the other big talking points this week has been the fact that a lot of fans left the main event on Sunday in droves. And apparently, if you read reports, Vince was incredibly upset about it. And that was followed up by some pretty bad ratings. Now, look, people sent mail about this. Don't get into the whole ratings thing because ratings go down every year in May. Every year. May, June, it's the after WrestleMania decline. It's just the way it goes. Ratings are down for everybody right now. So, but yeah, if you add the ratings thing onto the fact that you had a really bad pay-per-view on Sunday, it's not good form. So
it's not a good look.
Yeah. So I don't know if this means any changes. I don't know. Some people are thinking that maybe that's why they changed their plans for Money in the Bank, and Brock Lesnar's not facing Roman Reigns again at Money in the Bank. They decided to wait on Brock to SummerSlam, but
I feel like no matter what they do with Brock, I don't think Brock was going to work Money in the Bank anyway. There was always the rumor, but I don't think he's going to work it anyway. But
they don't need
the
him.
thing with Brock is, well, they do need the title on the show. They should have dropped the title at one of those two.
What I'm saying, no, they need the title on the show. But what I'm saying is,
Money
in the Bank is carried by the Money in the Bank matches anyway, so they can get away with that.
Oh yeah,
so
they can because I'm not sure if the competitors challenging for the Universal title are going to win the match. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But that being said, WWE should glean something from the fact that, yes, you put Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe on last, and people chanted, "This is boring," and walked out early. Now, if I know Vince McMahon, he's not blaming Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I know Vince McMahon, he's not blaming Roman Reigns. He's going to blame Samoa Joe. But however, it's not Samoa Joe's fault. It's who he's in there with, and everybody in that arena figured Roman was going to win regardless, and they didn't want to see Roman win. They didn't want to see Roman win, and they got the match wasn't great. It's not that Joe and Roman don't have chemistry. It's just something was off. Something was off in the match. It wasn't a good match. It wasn't an entertaining match. They kind of picked it up towards the end, but it was the most predictable finish. Right. Everybody and their mother knew that Roman was going to win, and a lot of those people didn't want to see Roman win. So is there any surprise that people left? People tuned out. People watched Camp WWE instead, by the way. Camp WWE was great. And yeah, Backlash was not a good pay-per-view.
No.
It was not. Most of the wrestling pundits said you could have turned that pay-per-view off after Miz versus Rollins and missed nothing. I disagree. You probably should have stuck around for the most divisive yet entertaining finish to a title match ever. Nakamura versus Styles. Now, I think, and I think everybody kind of agrees with me, you should have run the title change there. Mm-hmm. That was the moment to run the title change. The fact that you didn't run the title change, it wasn't even final. It wasn't the last match on the show. You could have run the title match, and people might have had a better reaction because people are like, all right, we like AJ, but as wrestling fans and as people who are watching the product and are kind of frustrated with the product, mm-hmm. we're ready for Nakamura to get his moment.
Right.
The heel turn was great. The new theme is a banger. So we're ready for it. He's got this awesome new gimmick of punch AJ Styles in the dick. It is the greatest new gimmick ever. I'm just pointing that out. The finish I thought was hilarious. It was the wrong finish. Nakamura should have won that match. But and I'm to this day, I don't even know why they didn't send like Paige or somebody else saying, "Oh, the match needs to be restarted. We can't end like this." And then Nakamura just hurts the Kinshasa, boom, and that's it. Because that was your excuse. You could have protected the shit out of AJ Styles in that match. But we get a double count out after simultaneous low blows, which still makes me laugh to this moment. So, I mean, that's worth watching, but yeah. If you're looking for anything to show, you might want to just not.
Right.
You might want to not. So, there's no point. Backlash was not a good show.
And basically yes, what you got from it was that a lot of these things are going to continue into next month.
Pretty much. Carmella beat Charlotte on the show, and now I'm still over here questioning why the fuck. Because that match was bad.
I have a theory, if I may.
It's like, why the fuck did Asuka lose at Mania? This is what we're getting.
Well,
go ahead. What's your theory?
I don't know if you heard about Charlotte. She has to have surgery.
She has to have surgery? Then okay.
Well, wait. She's going to miss a little bit of time. Apparently, she was injured before WrestleMania, but she didn't want to miss the match for Asuka. And she also wanted to work. They wanted her to work the program with Carmella, and they wanted her, and she wanted to work the Europe tour because it's a big payday. So she's going to do that, and then she's going to go away. They think she'll be back in time for Money in the Bank because she's only going to miss a few weeks. What the injury is a ruptured it's a ruptured breast implant.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So I guess she's been like during photography sessions and that she's been making sure that they cover it up and everything because she don't want anybody to know about it. But it finally got out, so yeah, that's why she's going to be missing some. So a lot of people think that might be why they didn't have Charlotte win it back at that pay-per-view because they knew that she was going to miss some time. And in that case, they want to have the title on the show. Go figure.
While I appreciate the fact that we want the title on the show, on SmackDown, and by the way, really nothing of note happened this week. Owens had an amazing promo and wrestled a decent match with Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
And then the Balor stuff. Balor Sammy had a good match, and Roman Reigns just happened to be in the building. And nothing else of note even happened, really, other than the Bryan losing to Rusev, which everybody doesn't mind that. Do you know why people don't mind Rusev beating Daniel Bryan? Because Rusev is still over as shit.
And he deserves
biggest
the
win since the Rusev Day thing. Yeah, 100% he does. But nothing of note happened on the show. Like, Asuka hasn't been on the show physically in about 2 weeks.
You know what else was good on SmackDown? The Hardy Miz match.
Yeah. Jeff Hardy is always worth watching, for better or for worse. And, Miz is just firing on all cylinders. But going back to the SmackDown Women's thing, all right, so Charlotte's in the Money in the Bank match. Are we not going to have a SmackDown or Raw Women's title match at Money in the Bank?
I think we might have a Raw one. I don't know if we're going to have a SmackDown one.
I feel like we probably should.
Yeah. No, I agree, yeah.
Because all of the women are saying, "Oh, Money in the Bank is my opportunity." That's it's like nobody's challenging Carmella.
Yeah.
Charlotte's in the match, in the Money in the Bank match. Nobody's like, nobody's challenging. I feel like Money in the Bank is going to be Carmella versus Asuka.
I doubt it.
Because I think the SummerSlam SmackDown match is Asuka versus Charlotte. That has to be the match. And you're not going to have Carmella anywhere near that match. Because if you watch, Carmella versus Charlotte was somewhere near god-awful and not great.
Charlotte looked bored out of her mind.
Charlotte was in a rest hold, and Carmella was yelling and trying to do her best Kevin Owens impression, but Carmella looked bored out of her fucking mind. Carmella looked bored. Charlotte looked bored. Charlotte bored. By the way, Sasha Banks hasn't been on the show recently. She shows up on Raw to lose to Ember Moon, of all people. By the way, good on Ember Moon being in the Money in the Bank match.
She's got to be a favorite.
That's a smart decision, Ember being in the match. But Sasha Banks has been nowhere lately.
Mm-hmm.
Bayley has barely been on the show. It's like, what are you doing with something? The Bar just kind of shows up randomly backstage now on SmackDown. They couldn't book everybody, this is the problem with the combining the brands. And which is why I was against it in the end, because yes, both the brands are together and they're working the same schedule, blah, blah, blah. But the problem is now you've got all these extra people who aren't on the show. And now we're having this problem again, where certain guys are going to be there. Certain guys are always on the show, but now certain guys are going to be left off. It's going to be and they're just going to be sitting on their thumbs, and they're going to try to build some of these guys for matches on TV, but they're not going to get a pay-per-view payday.
Right.
Because eventually, here's what I think is going to happen: we might end up combining the brands again, and then a couple of years down the road, what's going to happen? We need to split this up into brands and do brand-centric pay-per-views.
Yeah, same cycle.
Am I wrong?
No,
it's the same fucking cycle. So here's the thing: my solution is this: we go along with these single brand, with dual branded pay-per-views for now, and after WrestleMania next year, split them up again. Split them up again. One pay-per-view a month. Raw gets one, SmackDown gets the next one. Raw gets one, SmackDown gets one. Then Money in the Bank's dual branded. Then you get Raw, SmackDown, and then SummerSlam. dual branded. Raw, SmackDown, Survivor Series is dual branded. Raw, SmackDown, Royal Rumble is dual branded. Raw, SmackDown, WrestleMania.
Right.
It solves the problem. It gets more people on the show. You don't have as many pay-per-views. You still get 12, maybe 13. But come on. We're in the vicious cycle now. And there's no way to solve the problem. I don't know. Maybe I'm just nitpicking at some things.
No,
tonight.
you're not. You're right. And here's the thing that I think is is obvious. You know, they had a nice thing going with the brands, and then they did the shakeup, right? It looks like they didn't think these things through because all the people we thought would move in the shakeup didn't really move.
No, not really.
And the people that did move, some of them have gotten purpose, like, okay, Jinder Mahal's going to feud with Roman Reigns. All right, well, we got something for Jinder Mahal, right? But how many of these guys have anything to do? Owens and Zayn were completely lost. They have no purpose on Raw.
By the way, Owens and Zayn should be one of the top acts on Raw, and they're going to spend the next 2 months putting over Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley.
Yeah. And speaking of guys that are dropping the ball, they're really dropping the ball on Bobby already, too. That promo was terrible. Like, they're just I mean, they just don't. To me, it looks like they didn't think anything out after WrestleMania. And this is what happens every year. They don't know where they're going after WrestleMania. They maybe have 1 or 2 programs where they have a direction, and then they're like, okay, between WrestleMania and Money in the Bank, let's see what sticks. And then around Money in the Bank, they're like, all right, we have to start thinking about SummerSlam, and they start caring again. And then it's like, okay, there you go.
So we're almost to the point where they might give a shit again. But until then, we're not there. Bobby Lashley's probably going to be in the Money in the Bank match. They kind of have to return their investment there. And Andrade Cien Almas is probably going to end up in that Money in the Bank match too.
Samoa Joe
will probably end up in that match because we need something for him to do. Even though Vince is probably going to blame him for whatever. And then Owens and Zayn, what are they doing?
Yeah.
You know what? I say fuck it. And you give Owens and Zayn, you feud them with the broken heart, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt.
I think that's probably where they're going to end up.
I say fucking just give them Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy and have them do something with them.
I think that's.
I feel like the promos between those 4 could be very entertaining.
Here's what's going to happen: they're going to feud to go get. They're going to get the tag team titles. They're going to face each other as we get them through the next year.
Yeah,
that's going to happen because where else are they going to go?
They're going to get the tag titles. They might end up in a world title program at some point.
They have to get the title on the show.
And then they have to get the title on the show. By the way, Kevin Owens and Finn Balor, there's been 4 Universal Champions, and all but one of the Universal Champions needs their rematch.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
Balor, Owens, and Goldberg have never received a rematch for the Universal title.
Now there's a line.
There's a line, apparently.
Here's the thing. All right, if you're one of these people that thinks that maybe the WWE was reluctant to push Owens any further because he hasn't signed a contract. He signed a 5-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to be afraid to push him now. So hopefully look, I don't think there's any heat on Owens or Zayn. I just don't think they know what to do. They wanted to shake things up. They moved them to Raw. They don't have the title. I suppose they could always feud him with Rollins for the Intercontinental title. The title that Rollins is making look like $1 million right now.
It's the best looking title in WWE right now.
Between The Miz and now Rollins, they're making it look really freaking good.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess you could do something there, but we've seen Owens feud with Rollins before, But, hey, whatever. One last thing before we go ahead.
Well, I'd be all for Sami Zayn versus Seth Rollins.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah, sure.
That'd be a nice few months of championship matches.
Yeah, and Rollins is doing amazing work, so that would be. What was I going to say? Oh, one more thing before we move on. I don't know if you've heard this, Mike, but it has gotten out. The new plan is to get Roman Reigns cheered. Do you know what the new plan is?
No.
They're giving him the Daniel Bryan story where there's conspiracy and that how Brock Lesnar is the chosen one for the basically Brock Lesnar is the Randy Orton. He's the Daniel Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
And they're hoping that the fans see that and start to react to him in a positive way, rooting for him to beat the authority and the chosen one. Even though we all know that that Roman Reigns is the chosen one.
I don't think this story is going to work because I don't think the fans want to see Roman Reigns as champion in general. There are, and I don't want to discount them. I think your wife's calling.
Probably.
I don't want to discard those fans, but as a majority, I don't think I don't think fans want to see it. No, nobody's home. Nobody's home. And as I was saying, the fans have kind of selected the guy on Raw that they kind of want to be their guy. And it's Braun Strowman. Braun's the guy. The fans kind of selected saying, hey, this is our guy. We want to see this guy be the champion. And there has been moments throughout his run where the fans could have turned on him and dropped him in favor of a higher work rate guy. But for some reason, and I'm really happy that this is the case, the fans, the diehards, the casuals, the marks, the non-marks, they're all marks. We're all marks, I should say. Stuck with Braun. We stuck with Braun. Braun has done so many crazy, awesome things. They're like, oh, fuck this. Whatever Braun does is gold. And whatever they've done with Braun, people have been organically invested in him, which is important because no matter what they've done with Roman Reigns, and we've done the Roman experiment for the better part of 5 years. The better part of 5 years. We've been on this Roman experiment and it just hasn't worked. The definition of insanity is when you do something more than once and expect a different result every time. Well, Vince McMahon must be certifiably insane because he has tried this Roman Reigns thing for 5 years at most, at least, whatever. For the better part of this period of time, he's tried this Roman Reigns thing and it just hasn't worked. So I don't know where else they can go. I don't know what else they can do. I don't know. They could try the Daniel Bryan thing, and I can tell you right now it won't work. Because people are too smart at this point in time. Even the younger fans are smarter than they were. That Roman Reigns is... People aren't going to buy into it. They know Roman's been the guy. They know Roman's closed WrestleMania for the last, 4 fucking years.
Yeah, he's been held down.
He's not held down. He's won 2 Royal Rumbles.
But let's just pick out one.
He's won the world title... Go ahead.
Even if you didn't have, let's just say that you had the people that aren't the smart fans that, don't see through this and don't know that Roman is, the guy, the actual chosen one, everything, right? Let's say that you got the people that don't do this, right? We already did this storyline. We did it at WrestleMania 32. Triple H, Vince McMahon. We did that story. We did it for 6 months. He attacked Vince McMahon. Remember the whole Sheamus thing? Sheamus cashed in Money in the Bank and Triple H went against him and... and he had to knock Vince McMahon out and stuff. We did it. We tried it then, and it stunk. So why are we doing it again?
Brock Lesnar in place of Triple H.
Yeah. Didn't work the first time.
It doesn't work.
Jesus. I mean, I don't.
How many guys have we sacrificed here? So.
Mm-hmm. Now they're sacrificing Roman himself because this ain't helping. This is bad. I mean, he's what they're doing to him right now is bad. Like I mean, now you're starting to get to the point where people are indifferent to Roman Reigns. I mean, it's
he's always going to have his fans,
right?
But it's not going to work.
I feel bad for him. I do. I mean, everything you hear about him, everybody in the back likes him. He's a hard worker. Yeah. All the legends and the veterans think he's great. They love working with him. I feel really bad because they are really screwing with his career. He could have a very nice career. They do right by him.
What they've been saying for years with Roman has been, all right, you need to push him a lot. You need to kind of move him into the mid card a little bit, upper mid. You might even have to turn him heel. Anyway, you might have to turn him heel. You might have to kind of Batista him a little bit. Batista was never always near the title. You might need to cool him off. You might not need him to finish the show at WrestleMania one year, for crying out loud. To push him. See where he is in a year. And if the fans are reacting more positively to Roman at that point, then maybe, just maybe, once we get the title back on the show, you might want to give him a chance with the title.
Right.
You need to cool it down because at this point you've literally thrown everything at the wall. You've thrown the Triple H match. You've thrown the Undertaker match. You've thrown the Shield reunion. You've thrown the Seth Rollins match. You've thrown him wrestling Kevin Owens. You've thrown him wrestling Braun Strowman. You've thrown him beating up Vince McMahon. You sacrificed most of the roster to this guy. Most of the roster. And what has stuck? You've given him 2 Royal Rumble wins. You've had him win tournaments. You've had him get screwed several times. You've had him get the benefit of the doubt several times. What more can they throw at the wall with this guy?
Yeah. You're right. You're right. And it's like you're doing the whole nana. We don't want to listen to you crap. And it's just a shame. It doesn't need to be like that. It really doesn't. I mean, you're putting this guy in a bad. Remember a couple years ago. Well, remember after he got wellness and they took the title off him and Ambrose had it. And after he came back, what did they put him in the program? They put him in the program with Rusev, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, scratch that. That was a bad example because they that Rusev program was horrible. The Wyatt program. Remember they put him in the Wyatt program? And that ended up being like a fairly even feud, like Roman 1-2 and the Wyatts 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting as we got towards the back end of the Wyatt feud, he was getting better reactions. People were kind of like, all right, he's been away from the title and all that. People were starting to kind of, okay, if you had followed that up with another really good feud like that, I think you would have been on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't, though. They put him right back in the title picture. And here's the thing about Roman. He never has had a lengthy title reign. I mean, if you think about it, he's been away from the world from a world title for how long now? Not for lack of trying, but still, they've kept the title away from him. Problem is, they keep putting him in title after title match.
He doesn't get lengthy mid-card title runs either.
No. It's crazy.
He really did.
It's crazy. It really is. I mean, it's not that he wins the title, but he's always in a title match.
He's always around a title, which is not something you can do with Roman Reigns.
So I don't know.
But hey, now he's going to be Paul.
I just thought that was funny. As soon as I read that report, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They're trying to Daniel Bryan Roman Reigns now.
Yeah, and they're starting it off with Jinder Mahal.
You know, if you really want to reinvigorate the Daniel Bryan push, you know who you could do it with because you've kind of held him down, especially lately? Rusev.
Mm-hmm.
You could do it perfectly. Although Rusev doesn't have the build of like an underdog, but you could conceivably do it in a different way. You could.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it, but you could do it. Oh, you know what the other big news this week was? Before we move, because again, I don't know if you heard Daniel Bryan was on Chris Jericho's show.
Yeah.
And did you hear that Chris Jericho is apparently going to replace Shane McMahon in the WrestleMania match?
No.
Apparently that was the plan B, but Shane got cleared in time. They had a plan. Jericho was going to fly in, just make it, basically go right out to the ring, which, and that would have made a lot of sense given the Owens connection.
Yeah, especially since they played it up the next week at Greatest Royal Rumble.
Right. So, yeah, that apparently Jericho was the plan B. They contacted him a few weeks before Mania when Shane was sick, and Vince called him and said, hey, Shane might not make it. We need somebody. I know you're playing with your band that day. Is there any way we can make this work? They started charting things, airports and everything, how he could possibly make it, and I guess they came up with a plan. They had it all ironed out, and I don't know if you heard, but I guess they said, well, this is Jericho's like, oh, hey, I don't mind going right out to the ring. Me and he told Daniel Bryan on the air. He goes, me and Daniel Bryan can call a match on the fly, but there's one guy in the ring that's going to be having it's going to be flipping out, and that's Sami Zayn. He's neurotic. He'll be freaking out about calling the match in the ring.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's true.
So he said Sammy's going to be freaking out if that's how we have to do it. But
and if you listen quietly, you can hear the sound of all the fucks Vince McMahon gives about Sami Zayn freaking out.
But hey, if you're going to have a plan B, given that match, Jericho was a perfect plan B.
I am of the opinion that you should have made Jericho the plan A.
Because Shane couldn't really do anything in that match. He really could.
If you had Jericho in that match, you could have had probably a much better match.
And you could have played off Owens and Jericho a lot. It would have been a love triangle, Mike. Well, not a love triangle, but like a triangle over Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Chris Jericho. Who's the best friend?
Right. I think that story would have been amazing. Obviously, Jericho and Bryan would have won anyway. Well, yeah. I think that would have been a much better plan than Shane McMahon. Honestly, it should have been your plan A. You won't have Jericho for the time being. He's going to have the Jericho Rock and Razor Cruise coming up in the fall. He's going to be wrestling probably for New Japan for a little bit. I don't see why he would lose against Naito. Yeah, Chris Jericho's wrestling Tetsuya Naito. There's been more going on with New Japan than there is in WWE, and that's Okada breaks the title defense record. He's got his 12th defense, and then immediately they followed up with, what am I going to wrestle for my 13th defense? And they decide Kenny Omega, 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit.
Yeah.
And if you listen closely, along with that sound of Vince McMahon not giving a shit about what Sami Zayn thinks about calling a match in the ring, you can hear Dave Meltzer creaming his pants. I don't recommend you listen for that sound. But yeah, Omega versus Okada, 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit. So there must be a winner. And not only that, Okada and Minoru Suzuki are going to be wrestling in, I don't know if it's June or July, at Minoru Suzuki's 30th anniversary festival. It's celebrating his 30th year as a professional wrestler. It's also his 50th birthday. Matches of his career. So if Suzuki wins that match, and I don't see why he wouldn't, he would also have a claim to the IWGP title. Tetsuya Naito and Chris Jericho are going to war. Naito bled. New Japan doesn't do blood. But apparently he busted Naito open. And Naito had this hell of a Crimson Mask. Apparently it was said that New Japan doesn't allow blood, but they let Chris Jericho do whatever the hell he wants. Why? He's Chris Jericho. That's why. So Naito versus Jericho for the Intercontinental title. That's going to be a hell of a match. Then Omega versus Okada is going to be a hell of a match. So we've got a lot. There's more interesting things going on in WWE. In WWE, the best thing they have is, hey, Brock Lesnar's not here this week, and AJ Styles just keeps getting kicked in the dick.
Well,
hey, but at least Seth Rollins is defending the Intercontinental title. But hey, WWE champion AJ Styles just got punched in the dick again this week. That devious Shinsuke Nakamura.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we did a lot of wrestling. We have to move on. We got some sports stuff, and and look, there's not a lot to talk about here. I'm going to be very quick. Let's talk some NBA playoffs because there's not a lot to talk about. The second round has been a complete bust. For how as good as the first, and that's what happens with these things. I talk about it all the time, like the NCAA tournament. When you have these longer, like okay, NCAA tournament lasts a couple of weeks, but NBA playoffs last like 2 months. Sometimes you get a good first round, bad second round, good third round, good finals, and then vice versa. Same thing with the NCAA tournament: good first weekend, bad second weekend, good Final Four, vice versa. This time around, you got something that you don't usually get, which is a good first round, very competitive, good series, right? This time around, second round's terrible. And that's how it evens out. You had the good first round, now you're gonna have a fairly uneventful second round. And really, there hasn't been much to talk about here. Cleveland pretty much just dominated the Toronto Raptors. There's not much else you can say about it other than that. Just dominated them from start to finish. And for all the talk about LeBron not having a supporting cast since Game 7 of the first round, his supporting cast has come out to play. Kevin Love has woken up. The Cavs are playing good basketball right now, and that's dangerous for the team they're going to be playing, which is the Boston Celtics. We'll talk more about them in a minute. As far as I want to leave them for last, I got to say something about Brad Stevens. I got to go on a rant for a few seconds. But yeah, they advanced. Houston and Golden State both advance, dominate their respective series. So not much to talk about there. We get the series that we all thought we'd get. So not much you can say there. Again, I'm not trying to bypass these things, but you can say these series dominated Utah. Golden State dominated. I forgot who going. God, I don't remember who Golden State played. That's how bad it is.
Utah. Was it Utah or was it New Orleans?
No, it was New Orleans. Sorry, there you go. Yeah, New Orleans. Going into the series, they dominated them. Same way that Boston dominated the other team that was pretty much the hottest team next to the Pelicans. They're the next hottest team in the NBA, and that's the Sixers. You remember about a week ago, everybody was going Pelicans. No, 2 weeks ago, Pelicans and Sixers were the trendy picks. People, they've arrived early, they're going to break the glass ceiling, all that kind of stuff. Well, for as quickly as they burst on the scene, and they had great years and burst on the scene, they just got dominated by the old guard, essentially, the Celtics and the Warriors. And let me just say one thing about the Celtics. Now, the Celtics did not dominate this series quite in the same way that the Rockets, the Warriors, and the Cavs did in their respective series. They won a lot of these games in close fashion. A lot of them were very just dramatic, close games. Mike will probably bring this up. If you saw the infamous play at the end of the game was it Thursday or whatever day it was, that Brad Stevens called, okay? And first of all, Brad Stevens is a tremendous coach, okay? And I thought this in college, and I think this even more so in the pros. He is a tremendous basketball coach. He can coach veterans. He can coach young players. He specializes in young players, but he can coach anybody. He is tremendous, and he has shown that time and time again, but especially in these NBA playoffs and especially in this series. He is a strategist of the highest caliber. He is an amazing head coach. And to me, this series And really, this whole entire playoff run and this whole season. Because if you think about what Boston has gone through, they lost Gordon Hayward in the first night of the season. They lost Kyrie Irving for the season. They've had injuries plague them all year, and they do not miss a beat. They still became the 2 seed in the East, and here they are in the Eastern Conference Finals after losing pretty much their best players, the 2 best players, and they're here. And why are they here? Because they're smart, they're resourceful, and they have, in my opinion, right now, the best, next, other than Greg Popovich, he is the best coach in pro basketball. Far and away. Far and away. But he won them that series. He did. And now Boston's going to go on to play Cleveland, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I want to bring up Brad Stevens. I'm going off this Brad Stevens narrative for a reason. They announced Coach of the Year, and it went to Dwayne Casey of the Toronto Raptors, who was a great coach. Okay, and Toronto had a great year. They were number 1. They were the 1 seed and everything. Mike D'Antoni for Houston had a great year. You can went with Alvin Gentry of the Pelicans. He had a great year. Brett Brown of the Sixers had a great year. Did not have a great series. Made some big mistakes. We'll see if he keeps his job. I think he should, but, there's a lot of people that think that they might need a new coach to go to the next level. We'll see. So, there were candidates. I'm not saying that Brad Stevens should have won Coach of the Year. Well, I think he should have won Coach of the Year, but I'm not saying I have any problem with him not, okay? I think he should have, but if you had gone with Dwayne Casey or Mike, okay, fine. How does he not get a vote? How does Brad Stevens not get a vote for Coach of the Year? When you see what he's done this year with the injuries and everything that and what ended up being a more competitive Eastern Conference than we all thought it would be. How does he not get a vote? That's what I can't understand, and that's what is unconscionable for me, is how he does not get. What, are they jealous? Are these people not thinking he's a good coach? Like, what the hell is that? Are they just sick of everybody singing his praises? Well, we're going to keep singing his praise because he's freaking good. He's a rare case. He's actually made the transition to pros and hasn't missed a beat. In fact, he's become a better coach. Fine, he didn't win Coach of the Year, but to not get a vote? How big of a middle finger can you give somebody? Good Lord, that's insulting. That is insulting. If you want to do that to somebody, you want to snub a coach, then why don't you snub a coach that had a talented team? Like Steve, I love Steve Kerr, but Steve Kerr doesn't deserve a vote. If somebody said, "Hey, I'm not gonna," if Steve Kerr, if we had a report that said Steve Kerr didn't get a vote in Coach of the Year, I could understand why. Because, with that team, you should win what you won. But for somebody like Brad Stevens, who had to deal with all the things that they had to deal with as a team this year, and you don't give him a vote, at least a vote. That's a travesty. I'm sorry. That's a travesty. I mean, we talk all the time about how the Baseball Hall of Fame vote is terrible. Well, whoever voted for Coach of the Year, you also be ashamed of yourself. That's an embarrassment. It's embarrassment. How are you ever supposed to take that vote seriously if a coach like that can't even get a vote? What's this, high school? That I could not believe that. Horrible. Well, we have our final 4. We have the Warriors and Rockets, and we have the Celtics and the Cavaliers. Cavaliers, of course, are a 4, but when we thought at the beginning of the year, this is the 14th. This is 3 of the 14th we thought we'd have. As we got through the beginning of the season, we all thought Houston could end up here too, and they did. Now, Celtics, Cavs, I'm going to be honest with you folks. I just went on and on about Brad Stevens. The Celtics are going to win a couple games here. They'll probably get this series to at least 6. I think Cleveland's still going to. Cleveland's got so much momentum. If their supporting cast, including Kevin Love, plays the way they are right now, and LeBron continues to play at this level, you add that in, all those two factors together, they're not going to lose. They're just not. Boston's been great. Brad Stevens has done a great job. Without Irving, they're not going to win the series. I think they can get it to 6, maybe to 7. Cleveland's going to win the series. On the flip side, you got Golden State and you got Houston. Really, I still don't. I know what Houston's done this year has been great, and I know what they've done in these playoffs. I still don't trust Houston, and I don't think they've been challenged. I really don't. I don't think they've been challenged these playoffs. I don't think they've been challenged. I think this is the first time, they're going to be in a high leverage situation, being the playoffs, and they're going to be challenged. And I don't think they're going to respond, but they never have in the past. This is not that different a team from the last couple of years. This is not. And Harden tends to disappear in these kind of situations when he plays the top tier teams in high level situations. I like Golden State to win this in 6. I really do. Golden State's got Curry back. They're playing better. I think they're on their game. I think you're going to see Golden State Cleveland again. And then we'll see what the chips fall. If that's the case, I think Golden State will win. But, who knows what way Cleveland's playing right now. And I never would have guessed that Cleveland would be playing at this level. But who would have thought that LeBron would be playing at this level at his age? And who would have thought that the supporting cast, including Kevin Love, would finally wake up? If they could ever get Tristan Thompson to do something, boy, they'd be in really good standing. So we'll see what things go. The Eastern Conference Finals get underway on Saturday. West, I think, gets underway. West gets underway. Hang on a second. We'll have that for you in a second here. As soon as I can get the schedule to pull up. West gets underway on Monday. So that's their schedule there. So obviously we'll follow those series as they go along. We'll talk about them. All that good stuff should be good. It should be competitive at least. I see both series ending in like 6, but they both could go 7. Never know. But I think they should be better in the second round. That's for sure. Mike, you got any thoughts on the NBA playoffs as they are right now?
Throw it to me.
I did indeed, sir.
All I could say about the second round is there were some amazing moments, mostly from LeBron James. And that was it. Toronto kind of crapped the bed. Brad Stevens outcoached the entire NBA. I don't even know what happened in the Western Series other than the fact that Golden State and Houston won. That's about it.
Yeah.
There were some moments. And that was it. So now it's Brad Stevens' Celtics. By the way, Chris posted something to my Facebook timeline today.
I saw
Chris.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving left Cleveland to be the man. He went to Boston to be the man. Now he's not the man at all, and Boston and Cleveland are in the Eastern Conference Finals without him.
Yeah.
So he's not the man still.
Go figure, right?
Go figure.
Yeah. It is a shame.
So much for Kyrie Irving.
It's a shame though, because I would have liked to have seen Irving against LeBron in this series.
It would have been an interesting thing, but hey, Boston got there regardless.
Yeah, they did. That Brad Stevens needs a raise.
He does. Brad Stevens needs a raise and a vote for Coach of the Year.
Yeah. Be nice if we got one vote.
Yeah.
Good Lord. I can't. Oh, God.
It certainly was. But other than that, who cares? I mean, I'm not going to say who cares, but right now it's just like it was anticlimactic, and here we are. 1 and 2 or not 1 and 2. It's like 2 and 4 in the East and 1 and 2 of the West.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're playing each other again. Surprise.
Realistically, it's representative of the season. The 4 teams you thought would be here are here. So, that's how it's supposed to work, I guess. All right, let's see. Anything? I got the Players Championship this weekend in golf. I don't see anything big happening there. I don't think any of the big names are going to do anything. I really don't. I don't like the course for any of them. Let's see. Baseball. Obviously, the Yankees are red hot, and as I said that, what's crazy. I don't want to go on a Yankee tirade here. Well, not a Yankee praise session here, but yesterday they were down 6-5. They come back. They win 9-6. And they've had a lot of comebacks in this stretch that we're all talking. Obviously, if you watch baseball, you know what's been going on. Tonight they're down 4-0, and they come back, and it's 4-4. The Red Sox score again in the 8th inning. It's 5-4, and now the Yankees are threatening again. Look, they've won 17 of 18 games. You saw the way the Red Sox started the season. Now you see what's going on here. The best two teams in baseball playing. This has been a great series. It's been a great 3 weeks. And we can get into a lot of things. We can get into, it's early in the season. None of this matters. Here's the thing, though. When you do something like they're doing for 3 straight weeks, the Yankees, and they do it against the best competition in the American League, every one of the teams that they played has been at least over 500. Toronto, Minnesota, LA, Houston, Boston, Cleveland. You had the defending American League Central champions in the Indians. You had the defending World Series champions in the Astros, defending AL East champions in the Red Sox. They beat all of them. Some of them they swept. I don't care when you do that in the season. That's impressive. So those games matter because you're getting them off the schedule. You're winning. You're making headway in the standings, and you're taking difficult games off the schedule that you don't have to deal with later on in the season. So those games matter. They do. So Yankees have been the big story in baseball. Really, they have because they've been the hottest team. Other than that, there's been a lot of injuries and whatnot. You got David Price with the carpal tunnel thing. You got, the Astros have struggled, but they're getting back on track. The Indians have struggled, but they'll get back on track. That division is terrible anyway, so they don't need to worry about it. The Braves and the Phillies have been hot. The Nationals are starting to wake up. So the Cubs, the NL Central looks great. Cardinals have been great. Dodgers are I don't know what the Dodgers are going to do. They got Kershaw. They got a lot of problems going on there. So we'll see what happens with them. But there's only one other thing I want to talk about here. And this is in relation to baseball again here. And that's the Mets. Now, I'm not going to talk about the fact they lost 8 and 9. They lost 2 out of 3 to the terrible Reds. I'm not going to talk about that. All right. I'm not going to talk about how far they've fallen since they started out 11 and 1. Well, I'm going to talk about something that happened yesterday that can't happen. It's unconscionable that it happens in professional baseball. Look, if it happens in Little League or something, fine. Okay, it's whatever. But in professional baseball, when you got the manager, you got the coaches, this should not happen. Yesterday, the Mets did something that hasn't been done, in 60 years or something like that. I forgot how long it's been since they did it. They batted out of order. The umpires had the long lineup cards. And because of that, you had to call it out. They ended an inning that they could have scored in, and they lost the game by 1 run. Now, this happened in the first inning. They lost the game in extra inning, but still. They ended the first inning, they were threatening. And then because they batted out of order, the inning essentially got ended. Now, I know that Mickey Callaway, who used to be with the Indians, is a first-year manager. He's never managed before. He's been in a dugout. He knows what happens. There's a lot of first-year managers in baseball. Aaron Boone, Alex Cora. Last year, Dave Roberts. You had AJ. You got a lot of young managers, first-year managers. I've never seen something that bad. Something because folks, it's your job. And I know mistakes happen on your job, but that's a mistake that can't happen. That's a basic thing. That's fundamental. I've been watching baseball since I was 7 years old. I've never once seen this happen. There's people that go, lifetime's never seen this happen. How can you bat out of order? What are you doing that all these people don't notice this? Your lineup card is on your dugout wall. What are you doing that you don't notice this? Especially since most of the time, and I know some lineups change every day, especially in the National League, but most of the time your lineup is the same. At least the top of it is. Oh, I could not believe it. And then they lose the game. That's something that a manager, I know people can say, well, it's only one mistake. That's something that can come back to haunt a manager. Because they're going to look at that and go, boy, you have no idea what you're doing. And he's been on the hook during this whole stretch where they've been falling apart anyway. That just doesn't make you look any better. It just makes the whole picture look even worse. Just could not believe that something like that could happen. Now I saw some people comparing it to calling a timeout in basketball when you don't have a timeout. But see, that can happen in the heat of the moment because that's a player in the heat of the moment forgetting something. It's not the call. This is something you got so much. You got the paper. In some cases, you got the paper in front of you. You got time to look at everything. There's no excuse. I'm sorry. There's no excuse. It's not the same thing at all. It's crazy. Unbelievable. Mike, do you think it's completely unreasonable that somebody could forget that? I mean, how can that? I'm struggling for words here to try to figure out how somebody could let a team bat out of order.
Bad out of order.
Well, I mean, they did.
Don't they have a lineup card?
Yeah, well, they gave the umpires the wrong lineup card. I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to tell you what Justin told me off the air. It's the Mets.
Of course, it's the Mets. It's the only explanation. The Mets are the biggest joke in baseball at the moment. So, sure,
yeah,
it's the Mets.
It's the Mets. Is there any other reason?
No.
But yeah, I just had to say something about it because it was such a big story yesterday. I just can't. I can't. Like, I just couldn't. Like, I heard it and I still couldn't believe it. Could not. But so I wanted to make sure I touched on that because I just thought that was, oh, good Lord. All right, so it's late. We covered the things we have to cover. I could have done more, but I don't want to keep us up too late. So, anything else that we didn't get to, we can always table for next week and all that good stuff. So, with that being said, we covered everything. We are done for the night. As always, the show might be over. It's not me have to stop interacting and contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your feedback, questions about the show, scheduling of the show, topic ideas of breaking news items related to sports, entertainment, or wrestling you want us to cover. Reactions, opinions, and things we talked about on the show. Any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember, hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show, whether it's something directly to us or something in general. Use that hashtag to help us out so we can see what you're tweeting and maybe even interact with you and all that good stuff. And, of course, on Facebook, you can find us by searching for us using our show title in the Spotlight 411. And then once you find our fan page, make sure that you like it so you can interact with us and all that good stuff. Let's see here. We encourage you to follow us on social media so you can keep up with the show and any updates, schedule postponements, delays, any of that kind of stuff you can do. Okay. So make sure you follow us on social media for the latest schedule updates, anything you can interact with us, have fun with us, all that kind of stuff. Sorry, I just got distracted. So again, Twitter at itspotlight411. Again, use hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding the show. And on Facebook, search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. And then make sure that you like our fan page so that you can interact with us and all that good stuff. So make sure that you follow us on social media for the latest updates about the show, scheduling, all that good stuff. And again, any other random things we post. And, of course, interacting with us, you can do all that. So follow us on social media so you can do all that and more. You have two ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. You can either stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on those sites, on both those sites, and you'll have access to every episode ever produced through Google Plus and YouTube. That's every episode from mid-October 2015, all the way up to tonight's current episode. Those episodes are available for you to stream anytime you want. So just check us out on Google Plus and YouTube anytime if that interests you. And just search for In the Spotlight 411. If streaming's not your thing, maybe you prefer to listen to us rather than see us on screen, listen to us on the go or any of that kind of stuff, you can do all that on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. And when you do that, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites, as the baby cries, where you can find every episode we've ever produced in the nearly 8 years been doing this show. So every episode from our original Blog Talk Radio run from October 2010 to January 2021, all of our episodes from our talk show run from January 2021 all the way up to mid-October of 2015. And all of our episodes from Google Plus and YouTube from October 2015, all up to tonight's current episode. All those episodes are transferred to audio format for your convenience. So every episode we've ever done, from beginning right up until now, all in order from the most recent, that being tonight, all the way to the oldest, and way back in October 2010, they're all available for you to listen to anytime you want, all in audio format for you to listen to anytime. Our main host sites, Podbean, iTunes. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411. Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes. Always, you can keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes or listen to us on the go, any of that kind of stuff. Again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, all your ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. Search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411, and you can listen to us on the go, check us, watch us, keep up with past episodes, current episodes, all that good stuff you can do. So make sure that you know all that and do that if you're interested. Whatever way you want to do, stream us, listen to us, whatever you want to do. All right, I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
I am going to good night.
I want to thank myself for a great show, pat myself on my back, and thank all of you for continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be watching and listening to this later and archive, thank you to you as well. So I got discombobulated. I got a little distracted. But I got through it. So, all right, that is it for this week. Again, our schedule will continue to be one show a week right through the summer. So make sure that you keep that in mind. Our next show will be this coming Tuesday, which is May the 15th. Wow. Ooh, sorry about that. May the 15th, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, broadcasting and streaming live here on YouTube. 9 o'clock Eastern Time this Tuesday. Again, we'll do Box Office Beat, TV highlights, any big news from the television upfronts, cancellations, renewals, we'll talk about it. We'll kind of do that along the way over the next couple of weeks. We'll do some wrestling stuff. We'll do some sports stuff, NBA playoffs, all that stuff coming at you on Tuesday. That is our next show. Until then, have a great rest of your night, a great weekend, a great start to your week. Next week, we'll see you back here this coming Tuesday night, May the 15th, 9 o'clock Eastern Time here on YouTube. Until then, have a good night, everybody.